for the glory of God. Good morning, you're welcome. Please tell us your name and where you're from.
Good morning, church. My name is Guy Blanchard Ikoku. I come from Victoria. Originally, I'm from Gabon. So I got 4 testimonies this morning, but I'm going to start with this one, as you saw in the video. So for the last 24 months, my health hasn't been that well since I lost my businesses. I had 2 big restaurants, one in Victoria and one of the busiest malls, and the second one in another mall in Durban. So I lost everything and my life just collapsed, and as a result I lost my one of the car I had here and another car I had for business, which was involved in an accident beyond repair. And we also lost the house, which we initiated the purchase at Teresa Park somewhere. So from that time I went through a lot of stress and depression, which affected my health really, and I started developing high blood pressure as a result, and also my nerves were affected. Some days I would feel like I'm paralyzed. I couldn't turn my head around. But since I attended the prayer line, I can guarantee you that my health has been restored. I can sleep properly at night. But before, I had some heart pains, and it's almost every 2 days I would feel pain in the heart. And I would wake up at night, in the middle of the night, to go and have some water and relax, because the pain was so terrible I couldn't sleep. And I would stand for 3 hours until 3 a.m. in the morning before it calms down. But from the prayer line, I can tell you it's never happened to me again from that day.
So you were healed completely and that changed your life forever.
Yes.
Please go to the second testimony.
The second testimony is a trip I had a couple of months ago. I attended a conference in Europe. But I was afraid, and I spoke to the apostle, and he gave me assurance that go, everything gonna be all right. So I went. The trip was okay when I went. The return was in 2 phases. The first phase, we had to leave a country to passing through France. That trip was okay. It's about 2 hours, and it went well. And the remaining portion was the longest one. It's almost 12 hours in the air, non-stop. But that one I wasn't worried. I was worried on the other side in Europe, where the weather wasn't good. And I spoke to the pastor over the phone. I said, look, that's the situation here. The weather forecast is saying that we're going to have bad weather the coming days. And that period was my return period. So we prayed about that. And suddenly the sky was cleared, so that part of the trip was okay.
Put your hands together for my Lord Jesus. Even though the weather was not good, but he landed safely by the grace of God.
Yes, we landed safely on the first part. But the second part now, I can say 5 hours after we left Paris, and things started to turn around, and the weather just up there started to change. And there was a terrible storm, lightnings and very dark clouds. And for all my life, I never saw such dark clouds up there. And the plane was very, very, very shaky at the point that they have to shut down all the windows because people start panicking there. And I remember before I left the first country, the apostle advised me to go through the Psalm 81. So I was going through it, but the more I prayed, and the more shaky was the plane, and the more fearful I was. So I was praying in fear. And at some point I said, okay, God, if this is your will, that I have to die in this trip, let it be. I'm no more being afraid. So I started casting out my fear and kept on praying. And I think 30 minutes later, things started slowing down. The weather was still bad outside, the lightnings, but the plane started to stabilize until we landed safely in Johannesburg.
Amen.
So,
And part of that Psalm 81, it says, I removed the burden from their shoulders, their hands were set free from the basket. In your distress, you called, and I rescued you. I answered you out of a thunder cloud. Amen.
The third one, it's work related. So, as an academic, we are required to publish every year or regularly. It's staff member. We have to publish. That's how university gets money from the HET. If we don't publish, the university don't get money. So since an academic, my last publication was in 2013. So from 2013 until the time I joined this church, it was a blank period with no publications. I would start something, but a sickness will come or heaviness in the body will come, and I will drop out. And I will put it in the wardrobe, and it stays there for years until I came to this church. And I was delivered the first day, and we had a meeting again in the apostle's office where we were praying about. I had an attempt last year when I attended a conference in Egypt. So what happened? The proceedings of the conferences were published online, but the file, that specific file containing my 2 publications, was corrupt. Everything was put on international internet, so you could access it anywhere in the world. But that specific file, which contains my publication, just for no reasons until today, I refused to open. So I couldn't access a copy, because the university needed a copy for DHET to allocate the appropriate funds to the university. So I had no proof that anything was published under my name. That was the challenge I had before I came here, and I was desperate. And the first meeting I had with the apostle, I raised the issue, and we prayed about that. And the week after, I received an email saying that, look, the proceedings which are online, we're going to cancel them. So we're going to now publish all the proceedings in the book. We're going to convert it in an engineering book, which is going to be published by Springer, which is a well-known publisher for science and engineering. So they choose to publish that as a book, and I said, what? So the hopes start coming back again. That was the first attempt. While waiting for that, I also managed to try out other publications, including the conference, which I attended. And just last week, I received a confirmation that the 2 chapters were published in the book. And in a total, from, I can say, from March until now, I already had 5 publications with 2 underways, which are going to make it 7 for next 29.
I send the word of God, and I send it now to position you so that you forget the pain of your past. Now I'm speaking on behalf of God. I say, witchcraft or no witchcraft, I disconnect you from all those things. Amen. Father, I separate them from all these calamities. Father, let your name be glorified unto them. Father, in the name of Jesus, remove all these calamities. Father, place them where your name will be glorified. I separate them from this calamity in Jesus' name. Amen. You leave it for God. I see they're going to call you. They're going to call you. And that call will bring change in your situation. They will. And when they call you, that call will bring change. Just after the election. Just after.
So I just want to give back the glory to God because I wouldn't have done it by myself. Otherwise, I could have published between 2013 and now. So it's all by God's power, and I would like to give him back his glory through that.
Amen. Wow. What a wonder-working God we have. It doesn't matter your situation, whether it's career, whether it's regulated, whether it's health, whether it's business related, He is still there for us. Amen. What is your advice to the people that listening to you today?
I think if you allow me, I got one last small. I'm going to try to shorten it.
Okay, let us hear the first
Before
testimony.
we summarize, I can say before the last one, it's I can say marriage related and part of work because that's where everything was unlocked. I remember I said in the earlier testimony that my life was upside down and my marriage was affected as well. And the work, I had attacks at work, at my working place. I was even falsely accused of the disappearance of 60 computers because when I joined the university, there was no lab in our department. And I approached the dean, I said, look, we are an engineering department, we can't function without a lab. We're now in this century where all the students have access to computers. So the deans agreed and he allocated some money for, they gave me charge of that task. So within the department there were some dark forces which didn't want it to happen because it's me. They have been there for 20 years and they never had an idea. And somebody just arriving now and bringing all these ideas, they felt threatened that the deans up there and they would have some favors towards me. So there was some fighting until somebody, because I still believe it's inside job, where the computer was stored, the door wasn't broken, it just vanished like that. And we don't even know how they managed to get out of the security gate. Of course, TUT has one of the strongest security checks in our thing here, but until today we're still wondering how these 60 computers vanished, which were 33 laptops and 31 PCs still in boxes, which the dean's office bought for me to have this lab done. So people were trying to have me fired so that it doesn't come to completion, that project. There were some investigations. I didn't know that I was being investigated, but luckily nothing was found against me through the investigation. And early this year, somebody still tried to pull the strings. I tried to reinitiate it, but I discovered later it was one of our own colleagues, which was still pushing for that. And I was supposed to expect a feedback at the end of this year if the investigation is going to go on. But luckily, and the time I was...
By the grace of God.
By the grace of God, yes.
Amen.
And it's the case was closed.
Put
until
your
today.
hands together for our Lord Jesus Christ.
And I can see before that there was something happening. I was praying, coming here, the prayer lines, but something was still not right until the apostle asked me to meet me privately in his office. Something was wrong, which unleashed everything which happens, which I spoke about in previous testimonies. So I had a private relationship with a lady, not that we had physical intercourse, but the fact that we were still calling each other as lovers, it was affected by my life and my marriage as well. And the pastor called me, the apostle, and he told me, no, I see a third person in your life. And I was wondering, a third person? And I remember the lady, so it was a young student I met at UCT when I was starting my PhD. And she was living I can say, not a Christian life. So I was a kind of a mentor to try to bring her, a young girl, to bring her on the right path. And I tried that, but with time, she started developing some feelings. And it was like a game, even though my partner was suspecting that, time to time she used to see the SMSs, but I always say, find a way out. I tried to make it not look harmful, and I thought it was a game, but it was really, really damaging until the apostle highlighted that this is one of the problems. And I had to take a strong decision. And there was on one side a fear to hurt the person, to ask her to cut it down, to cut the relationship. And I said, no, look, I have to find a way to do it. But it was very difficult. And I led it to the pastor and to the apostle to do it. And the month later, I did nothing. I didn't call the person to ask her to end that relationship, which wasn't healthy. So 1 month later, the person called me herself. And I said, look, I think we should end this thing. And
Put your hands together for our Jesus. I must say, I salute your faith, and I thank you for your honesty. It takes a real man, a man of faith, to admit his wrongs and repent from it and make it right. May God increase you for your honesty.
Amen. And I can say it's from that time that we agree that everything was unleashed. All the publications went through, and the health also, part of it was released, and the peace restored in the family. On her side as well, because we communicate, but not anymore under the former umbrella, but we, it's like normal friends and brothers and sisters now. And on her side as well, things also have changed. She got promoted wherever she is working.
Put your hands together for our Lord Jesus. So when you make things right on your side, automatically on her side also, she was also released.
Yeah, she was also released there.
It can only be God. Amen. My brother, God has done so much. He has restored your marriage. He has restored your career. You have published. You had a case this year and it was settled. You were not even convicted.
Yeah.
You went overseas in the midst of turbulence or weather turbulence. You came back safe. What is your advice?
The church, I would say, just have faith in God and also obey God. It's difficult in the human point of view. Some decisions are very, very difficult to take. But at some point we have to make a choice between our own lives and between following God or maintaining ourselves under these situations which we don't like. So we have to make the right choice and trust God through these choices. And whenever there's a point, even a small change can bring a small change towards God's will can bring a lot of changes in your own situation. It's what I would advise. Just obey God and let's trust Him. And when we trust Him, we should put away the fear and the doubt. It's all I can share with you from my own experience.
Put your hands together for our Lord. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you forevermore. Continue to make the word of God a standard for your life. With this testimony, I pray that more men will be released in Jesus' name.